Welcome to the Adriana Talks Dinero podcast, where we turn money lessons into tools for healing, confidence, and prosperity in our community. I'm Adriana, your bilingual money coach, educator, entrepreneur, and proud author. Here we honor our raíces and ancestors while building wealth for future generations. Each episode, I'll share practical tips, wealth building strategies, and real talk to help you take control of your dinero. Step into abundance and go from surviving to thriving. Let's talk dinero. So, in the last series of episodes, I went through how you can prepare yourself before you were to get laid off from a job. Unfortunately, right now, there are a ton of companies who are laying people off. It is either because they are not making enough money. So they're doing RIFs, which is reduction in force, or they're blaming AI, or they are saying that they are outsourcing, or two, they're just trying to find ways to go ahead and cut money or start saving in their budget. So a lot of the times that means that the people or the workforce is like the first to go. So I want to kind of take you back to 2022. And that's actually when I got laid off. Well, yeah, I got laid off. I actually got the news that I was getting laid off in 2021, but I want to pretty much like show you like it could happen to anybody, like no matter if you're like the best person, no matter if you're saving the company a lot of money or anything like that, like it can happen to anybody. And I feel like more times than not, you're going to meet people who are or who have gotten laid off rather than those who have not. So unfortunately, it's something that so many of us are going to experience in our careers. So I work in human resources for my 9 to 5. That's what I went to school for my undergrad, and then grad school. I did a double MBA, so business and in human resources. So I ended up taking a role that was close to home. Literally, like my office was like 7 minutes away from my house. And that's if I didn't get stuck behind the train, because where I'm from, like the train just goes back and forth, back and forth. And I remember I had an intern at the time, and I was at the job for about 9 months. And I had this intern. She was doing fabulous. And I always try to go ahead and treat my interns or anyone who's under me, like put them under my wing and literally teach them everything I know. Because that is what like my best mentors always did for me. And I always said, I'm going to do the same thing to my mentees because I feel like it's so important. So at this company, we always had interns in like different departments, different divisions, or in different areas of the business. So she was the only HR intern, and I had the pleasure of having her at my facility. What ended up happening was that we were going to Wisconsin because that's where the headquarters was at. So took like a 2-hour drive up there, and she was going to present, and she did an amazing job on her presentation, even though she was so nervous. She like knocked it out of the park. So after the presentation, all of the interns are talking and whatnot, and my boss calls me to her office. Here, I thought I was going to get praise for being such a good mentor to my intern. And what I ended up getting the news for was she let me know, she's like, I don't enjoy telling anybody this, but you have to keep this confidential. She's like, you can tell your intern, but she also has to keep it confidential and rather have the both of you stay home tomorrow because it was like a Thursday. She's like, I'd rather have you guys stay home on Friday because of what I'm about to tell you. And she let us know that the facility is going to get shut down over the next 9 months, and everyone there is losing their job, including me. And it was just like a slap in the face, because I came into the company to like basically fix it, like fix the culture and like really like pour my heart and soul into it. And that's essentially what I did. Built really good relationships, turned that facility around, but it was already too late. Like they already lost too much money. And I just remember like being in shock. She's like, I'll give you a minute and I'll come back in like 5 minutes, or you can come get me. So I just like start crying, because here I was, the eldest daughter, first generation Latina graduate, right? You do all the things. You do all the things correctly, like how you're supposed to. And then you get this news that you are essentially responsible for firing everybody. It was 130 people in the facility, and then me. And like we have to shut down operations. And I collected myself, and I ended up, saying my goodbyes and whatnot to everybody there, because it was all of the HR team, like on the whole, all the divisions. And we got into the car, and I was like really quiet, and my intern was like, "What's wrong? Like, what happened?" And I said, "I'm gonna tell you something, but we're not gonna go into the office tomorrow. I'll give you like the day paid. But they're shutting down operations and we're all getting laid off." I'm like, your internship was going to come to an end anyway, but now this is going to be even tougher, because I've never gone through this before. And here I am, like, kind of like bringing you along for the ride. And I started crying, and she started crying. And I'm like, I just need to tell you, because I cannot be in the car for 2.5 hours in silence or have it be awkward. Like, that is just literally what happened. So she let me cry it out a little bit more, and she was shocked by it. And I said, whatever I need to do for you, you let me know. If, I'm pushing too much on you, you let me know. If things are really uncomfy, let me know. And we drove home, left her back to her car. We gave each other a hug, and I'm like, they're going to announce it on Monday. So I said, just stay home, and then I'll keep you up to speed on how the conversations went. And so the weekend came and went. And Monday came, and all of like the head honchos of the company like came down, and because I was the only Latina, I was the only one that spoke Spanish, and the majority of the individuals who were getting laid off were Spanish speaking, or they were immigrants of another country. So that hurt even more. And I remember I didn't go in the morning on Monday. We went to lunch. I couldn't even eat, because I was like sick to my stomach on what we were about to tell these people and like disrupt their lives. So they kind of went through the whole spiel on what it's going to be like and what I have to translate in Spanish. And I remember us like getting up there, and like we had a 2-shift operation. So it was first shift that got the news first. And so we get up there, and I'm literally translating like what the president is saying. And at the part where he's like, "This is not the fault of you guys," I lost it. I just started crying up there and like pushed through of the rest of the message. And I am very grateful that like no matter where I go, I always have really good people around me. So everyone like gave me a hug, and they're like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." But like we were all getting laid off. So, fast forward, I had to lay people off like in waves and things like that. And it hurt even more, because I was literally like letting go of people who I know were the breadwinners. So I want to go over like the top 4 things you should do when you do end up getting laid off. This is essentially like what I did. So number 1, feel it, and just like be in your feelings like I did. Like I took like the whole weekend to like be in my feelings. So like really give yourself like 24 to 48 hours to process everything. It is a loss. right? I signed up for therapy right away because I knew I was going to have a really hard time because I connected my self-worth to my job, and I couldn't do that. And I had to unlearn that because of this big shift that was about to happen. And then also make sure that you file for unemployment immediately. So that's part of like the feeling part, right? Like you feel it and you're like, oh crap, I'm gonna get laid off. Go ahead, and once you get that termination letter, like you're gonna go ahead and file for unemployment immediately. You are also going to want to go ahead and take a look at your severance package. You do not have to sign right away. So that second thing is looking at your severance package. You can negotiate severance packages. It is not an end all be all. I actually negotiated everybody's severance package before we got to like the printing part. I made a case. My boss was all on board. And I actually got more payout for all of the employees, including myself. And they never knew that unless they listened to this podcast. Then now they know. So make sure you take a look at that severance package and that you negotiate anything that you can. Like, I don't care if it's like more pay or if it's more benefits, or like more time with your benefits, if it's coaching, if it's that they're going to go ahead and pay for you to go get a certification, anything like that. Take full advantage. And also, you have to handle your benefits as soon as possible. So that's number 3. You're going to go ahead and handle all of the benefits things, like understand what COBRA is, understand if your company is going to give you an allowance for any sort of benefits, understand what that benefits looks like for you and your family, just because unfortunately in the United States it's super expensive to get healthcare on your own. So just make sure that you understand what is available to you. And COBRA you can actually have for up to 18 months, but also understand that COBRA can be really, really expensive. So, go ahead and take a look at the COBRA, look at your marketplace for your state, which is usually called Obamacare as well. And that will go ahead and help you understand like what the costs are going to be in the future. You should go ahead and start connecting with people on LinkedIn, start scouting out any sort of job fairs, scout out like what state benefits there are. I'm in the state of Illinois, so luckily there are a ton of resources for individuals who are looking to go ahead and get a new job, or they're looking to go ahead and fall somewhere else because they got laid off and our tax dollars pays for that. So I usually see that more in the blue states compared to the red states. So make sure that you take a really deep dive into like what networks are out there. Go ahead and see what connections you can go ahead and make. And, even though this is like when you get laid off, this is why it's also important to always have like your LinkedIn going, to once in a great while go to like networking, or make sure you stay in touch with people, don't burn bridges and things like that. So you're going to want to go ahead and do these 4 things to go ahead and really help yourself if you were to get laid off. And especially with that part with the unemployment, you have to also understand what your state allows you to do with unemployment. And what I mean by that is, for example, in the state of Illinois, the state views a severance package as a gift from a company, not as a wage, not as a regular paycheck. It is a gift. So if you do end up getting a severance package, you can go ahead and do unemployment at the same time, and you can go ahead and basically make like, your good amount of money while you're trying to get on your feet. So that's not really something that you're gonna ask HR, because I have met a ton of HR people who have no idea that that's even something that is feasible. They really don't tell us or like teach us those sort of things. I know because for one, I lived through it, and for two, I'm always trying to find things to go ahead and advocate on the side of the employee as much as I can. So if I can educate somebody as maybe they're getting laid off, as maybe they're getting terminated, that just kind of helps me feel a little better at the end of the day. So if you do end up finding yourself in a layoff, I just want you to know that it's not your fault. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, like this is something that we're going to hear over and over and over again, especially in the times that we're in, especially in the times of like AI, in the times of like automation and technology and AI and all the things that these companies think that they can go ahead and replace individuals. So, don't get discouraged. You're not going to be the first one. You're definitely not going to be the last one to have to go through something like this. Is it tragic? Absolutely. But I also recommend that you listen to the last episodes. If it's either the English or the Spanish one, on how to prepare for a layoff, to do the work now. So if it were to happen to you, you're a little bit better prepared. And if you were like me, and I say were because I don't think this way anymore, your self-worth is tied to your job title or tied to your job or tied to your career, take full advantage of therapy. I can honestly say with confidence, I will not be where I am right now if I didn't have a really good therapist to walk me through that. And then if you're in HR and you're the one that has to do all of the layoffs and the firing and things like that, pour into yourself and get that help. You don't have to do it all on your own too. Go ahead and ask for help when needed. Make sure you disconnect because it is heavy stuff. I remember I felt like the survivor's guilt because I was like the last one standing. And I also felt like this deja vu because I had to do like warn notices and then I had to do layoffs. Like, I swear it was like every other week. It was like another group of people until I got through all 130 individuals and then essentially had to drop off my items and get laid off myself. So, like I said, those 4 things. Number 1 is that you're going to go ahead and feel it and make sure that you apply for that unemployment right away. Make sure that you read that severance package as number 2 and that you negotiate that severance package. Like, I don't care what it is, like you're going to go ahead and negotiate it. Number 3 is that you're going to handle your benefits situation right away. Like, don't wait on it. You want to give yourself enough time to really understand it. And then number 4 is really tapping into that network and really start building those relationships to go ahead and help you land a job. So if you do those 4 things, as unfortunately you may go through the situation, you're going to find yourself in a better spot. And you're going to find yourself doing quite a bit better than maybe your counterparts. I feel like in this world, we're just kind of like to go, go, go. And when you go through something like this, it really makes you reflect a lot more and it makes you appreciate things a lot more. And also, those of us who kind of better prepared for something like this, we're not going to feel it as hard as someone who maybe lives paycheck to paycheck, or maybe someone who has dedicated their whole life. A piece of kind of like unsolicited advice is don't pour yourself into a company 100%. Like, don't do it. As much as maybe they say like we're family, they're not your family. Things like this happen all the time, and they may leave you high and dry and without a job. And we all need a job in order to survive. And don't revolve your whole life around your career or your job. I've seen what has happened to those individuals who do. So make sure you still have joys in life. Make sure you always have exit plans. You have plan Bs, that you always pour into your own self-development, because no one's out here to save us, honestly. So, if you're listening to this because you did get laid off, my heart goes out to you, and I'm sending you a huge hug. If it's either that you're watching through YouTube, so through the screen, or even through your speakers, because it's really hard. It's never something that I wish upon anybody, but unfortunately, many of us do go through. So just hang tight, hang in there. I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. And honestly, I can go ahead and look back and say, yeah, I know why that needed to happen. For one, I detached myself from my career path, who I was pre-2022 to now. They're two completely different people. And then two, because I was kind of like thrown to the wolves to tell everybody that they're losing their job and cry up there. I'm not afraid to say, like, I'm a Chiona, and I cried up there. But it made me such a better public speaker. And everyone always says, oh, Adriana, like, you speak so well in front of people. Like, how did you do it? And I'm like, honestly, it's because I was thrown to the wolves very early on, and nothing can be worse than communicating to a group of like 100 people that they're getting laid off. I can absolutely see now, like, why it happened. And it may sound horrible, but I'm grateful for the lessons that came out of it. So, after a few years, you'll probably end up being grateful for the lessons too. And sometimes it is a redirection that the universe has for us that we couldn't make ourselves. So if you really like this episode, make sure that you go ahead and rate, like, and subscribe. And if you have a prima or amiga that ended up getting laid off recently, make sure that you send them this episode. Sometimes just hearing that they're not by themselves just brings a little bit more peace to them. If you would like to go ahead and work together, you have all of my info in the show notes. I also help out with severance negotiation, is actually something that I actually help out with. So reach out to me. It's not really something that I advertise too much because I do work in human resources, but it is something that I do help out with. And because I am an HR, I can guide you through everything. Or if you're not understanding your severance package and you need someone to like really translate the legal jargon, more than happy to do so. I do have a 3-session package for $300 to go ahead and help you out with that. So make sure that you go ahead and hit me up if that is something that you're looking for as well. So I will be doing the same episode in Spanish next week. So make sure you keep an eye out for that, just so everyone in our community who's only Spanish speaking still gets this really good info. So thank you again for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time. Before we wrap up, I want to keep it real with you for a second, the way that I always do. Everything we talked about in today's episode is for educational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, a tax professional, or a CPA. I'm just someone who is passionate about helping our community understand money better. Nothing in this episode should be taken as personalized financial or tax advice. And Adriana Talks Dinero is not responsible for any actions or decisions you take based on what you heard today. Every situation is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. Our community deserves access to this kind of information, but we also deserve professionals who can look at our full picture.
So take what you learned today, write down your questions, and bring them to a licensed financial advisor or CPA you can trust. We are here to give you the tools to ask better questions, and the right professional can help you put it all together for your specific situation. You now know enough to have a real conversation, and that is powerful.